Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Friday, June 9th. Hope everyone's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Friday, June 9th here today. We've got a lot to unpack as we close out the week here. We are coming off of a packed night last night in the world of sports, an exciting night, or a wild night. I shouldn't say just exciting night, but a wild night in New York baseball. If you're a Mets fan, you're getting up today yet again furious. You're frustrated. You're angry. You're actually speechless at this point because you don't know what else to say about the disgrace of a baseball team that the New York Mets have become. They lose 6 straight now. They go into Atlanta, lose 3 games, get swept, and then now head into Pittsburgh for a 3-game weekend series, down 3 games under 500 on the season. A team with a massive payroll, a team with one of the highest payrolls in baseball is pathetic. They're embarrassing, and as many Met fans told me today, they're almost borderline unwatchable. That's how bad the New York Mets have become, and let's be honest here, they're running out of answers because the things they've done so far clearly hasn't worked. What do the Mets need to do to get this disgrace turned around before it's too late, as they now drop 6 straight and they get swept in Atlanta and now fall, just completely, they're buried in a division. They're not coming back in a division. They're 8.5 back in a division. They now fall into 4th place in the National League East. This was a team that was projected to potentially be one of the best teams in baseball. They are 4th place in the National League East, and they're not even in a wild card spot right now. If the season were to end today, the Mets would be golfing instead of playing baseball. That's how bad it's been. So we'll get to them today. We'll get to the Stanley Cup as well. The Panthers even up the series with a big win last night, 3-2. Panthers seem to do it in overtime. They did in the Eastern Conference Finals. 2 wins in overtime. They won again in overtime last night, 3-2. The Panthers seem to, I guess if you want to call it, really put their fans under a lot of stress. They do because they, got that game to overtime. They obviously get the job done. They get the win. So they, right back into the series, 2-1, backs against the wall, couldn't fall down 3-0 to Vegas. They get back in the series, game 4 will be tomorrow night. And for tonight, game 4 of the NBA Finals, Denver looks to take a 3-1 lead, heading back to Denver for a Monday matchup. So tonight's game 4, if Nuggets win, obviously, either way, game 5 will be back in Denver. Nuggets look to set up an opportunity tonight to win it at home on Monday. So we'll start off today talking all things Yankees and Mets. That's going to be the main story of the day. We're going to get into the Mets first. Then we'll get to the Yankees as well. They got a nice win last night, split the doubleheader. They ended up losing the series 2-3. It was just an interesting series, an interesting week if you're a baseball fan, because the Phillies got postponed, the Yankees got postponed. You saw the Nationals got postponed. So in the tri-state area, the air quality has not been good recently due to the fires up in Canada. And it obviously, has wreaked havoc on New York City. It's fine now. The air quality's fine now, but over the past 3 days, it hasn't been good. That's why the Wednesday game got canceled yesterday. They were able to get both games in. Yankees split the doubleheader. They now move on to the Red Sox, who come into town tonight, start of a 3-game weekend series. So we'll get to that. We'll get to the NBA Finals. We'll get to the Stanley Cup and get you ready for all things coming up here in sports coming up this weekend. Packed weekend, exciting weekend coming up. So we're going to start off today with baseball because, interesting week to say the least if you're a New York baseball fan. I know obviously as a Yankee fan, you get the big series win against the Dodgers. You hear that Judge is on the IL, which is unfortunate. You lose game 1 to the White Sox. Then Wednesday gets postponed due to air quality. And then yesterday you lose game 2, which was obviously, yesterday you lose the first game because Severino was not good. You then end up winning the second game 3-0 off, some big hits by Willie Calhoun, Glaber with a homer, Billy McKinney with a homer. He had a triple in game 1, has a home run in game 2, so he gets called up. Was kind of a surprising call-up. I think many of us thought they'd either go with the Franchy Cordero route or the Estevan Florial route. They go with the Billy McKinney route, and he's been very good. So An interesting couple days for the Yankees as they wrap up the series win last night. Now they welcome the Red Sox to town to continue the rivalry tonight. But I got to start off with the New York Mets. And it's funny because you start off the week, the beginning of the week as a Met fan. And first of all, if you go back a little bit, the Mets sweep the Phillies last week. They get within 3.5 games of the Braves. And you're like, all right, here we go. We're back. We're above 500. We're 30-27. We're 3 games up. We get a Blue Jays team coming to town that's been struggling as well. And then you get swept by the Blue Jays. You fall to 30-30 on the season. And you go into this week set. I was trying to find weekday, weekend. You go into this week's 3-game set against the Braves. And if you're a Met fan, you got to obviously look. You have Carrasco on the mound in Game 1. You had Scherzer on the mound in Game 2. And you had Verlander on the mound last night. And you look at those three matchups, and again, they were countering with Elder, who's been very good this year. They were countering with Strider last night, who got rocked, but they still found a way to win. And then they were obviously countering with Charlie Morton in Game 2. So you were thinking, all right, look, the positive side was you have Carlos Carrasco, who's been good his last 2 starts going Game 1 in the series. Games 2 and 3, you have what should be your aces of the staff in Justin Verlander, obviously, yesterday, and in Max Scherzer going on Wednesday. And you're thinking to yourself, if you can at least find a way to take Game 1, or at least one of the games, you have a chance to just find a way to get out of the series winning a game. Don't get swept. Don't get embarrassed. Don't get blown out. Find a way to come away with maybe 1 win. 2 would be great. If you get vintage Scherzer and Verlander, you probably win 2 games. But find a way to come out of there and don't get embarrassed. And the Mets did the complete 180 of that. The Mets get embarrassed on Tuesday night. They get embarrassed on Wednesday night. And last night was the worst one of them all. They embarrassed the Braves, or the Braves embarrassed the Mets again on a field goal winner, a 3-run homer, to make it a 13-10 win for the Atlanta Braves. The Mets blow all 3 games. They go into Atlanta needing to find a way to find some sort of momentum, some sort of positive, and they come out of there looking back on this as you had a 3-run lead in Game 1, you lost 6-4. You had a 3-run lead in Game 2, you lost 7-5. You had a 3-run lead last night. You put up 8 runs on Spencer Strider. 8 runs on one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And you still found a way to lose 13-10. And as I've talked about all year with this New York Mets team, Mets fans, you know this all too well. They've got so many problems. We often talk about in sports teams finding ways to win, right? Finding different ways to win. Some nights it's defensively. Some nights teams do it with the bats. Some nights teams do it with the gloves. As I mentioned, defensively, making a big play. I mean, the Braves kind of did that in Game 2 of the series. Acuna had a huge catch, robbing Tommy Pham of a potential extra base hit, which could have completely changed the trajectory of that game. So they kind of won it with defense and obviously scoring runs as well. Sometimes it's pitching, hitting. Sometimes it's an accumulation of all things. Sometimes it's one swing. It could be 10th inning, 0-0 game. You hit a double, boom, scores the automatic runner, game over. Right? So it seems we oftentimes talk about teams finding different ways to win. The Mets, on the other hand, do the opposite. They always find a different way to lose. And I got to be honest with you, and this isn't breaking news, this isn't shocking. You're probably going to think to yourself, oh, thanks for saying this. The bottom line is this. No matter which way you put it, no matter how many guys you want to call up, make trades, adjust the lineup, move guys up and down the order, whatever you want to do, the bottom line is this. This group of players, this Mets team is just bad. Good teams find ways to win. It might not only be pretty, they might be ugly, but good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find new ways to lose. And the Mets continue to find new ways to lose. We've talked about the lineup all year long, having problems, struggling, not being able to hit. Well, in this series, they were able to hit. They put up 4 runs in game 1, 5 runs in game 2, and 10 runs last night. You put up 19 runs over 3 games, that should put you in a position to win. That's just it's about 6.5 runs a game. That should put you, or a little over 6 runs a game, that should put you in a position to win. Instead, the pitching failed for the Mets this weekend. Like, some nights they can't hit. Other nights they can't pitch. Then there's days where they can hit and they can't pitch. They never can get on the same page. I mean, it's the truth. I'm not joking. I know some people, like to joke about that, but it's the truth. This series, they were able to hit. I mean, they crushed Spencer Strider yesterday. If you would have told me that the Mets would have hit Spencer Strider for 8 runs and 2 homers and he only pitched 4 innings, I would have said Mets win that game 9-3. Instead, they lose 13-10. And who blew it for the Mets? Well, it was their bullpen. And their big money starter, Justin Verlander, did nothing. Allowed 5 runs over 3 innings. And this season, after winning Cy Young last year, having an ERA below 2, a 1.75 ERA, currently through 7 starts this year, he's got a 4.85 ERA. And in game 2 of this 3-game set, well, Max Scherzer, your other big money starter, allowed 11 hits and 5 runs in 5 2/3. Don't let the 10 strikeouts fool you. Max Scherzer was not good on Wednesday. His ERA now, 3.71. 2 guys that you're giving top-of-the-line money to. You're paying guys. The amount of money Scherzer and Verlander is getting paid, their ERA should be in the mid to low 2s, not upper 4s and upper 3s. Justin Verlander's ERA is just south of 5. I mean, that's near the bottom of the league. You're entering a category of Clark Schmidt's. That's how bad Verlander has been. And Scherzer, 3.71 ERA. Look, it's not bad, but for Max Scherzer standards, a 3.71 ERA is not good enough. You got to have more. And you ask yourself as a Met fan, where do you go from here? This was just another kind of example, another time where you kind of look at these games and you're like, man, there's so many issues. There's issues in the bullpen. There's issues with the lineup. There's issues with the pitching staff. And I know a lot of people, there's issues with the front office. I know, and I've identified those and I've talked about those. The one issue I haven't talked about much, or I didn't label it as much of an issue, was Buck Showalter. But coming out of this 3-game set, as just an outsider, and I think many Met fans probably agree, Buck Showalter's got to be a little bit on the hot seat. A lot of Met fans probably think he's on the extreme hot seat. From a reality standpoint, I don't think like Steve Cohen right now is. To me, the hot seat or the extreme hot seat to me is they're taking it game by game. Like if there's a really bad performance one night, he's getting the boot. I think his seat's a little warm. And I mean that by let's say they go into Pittsburgh and get swept. Whoever they have next, which is the Yankees, let's say they get swept. Let's say they lose their next 5 games. I think if you're Steve Cohen and Billy Epler in the front office, I don't know how you can sit there or not even lose their next 5 games because they're probably going to win one against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's had a good year, but they're not the Braves. If they can hit like this against Pittsburgh, they're going to probably win a game. Pittsburgh's offense is not as high-flying as the Braves, okay? The Braves are one of the best teams in baseball. I'm not making excuses for the Mets. I'm just saying they'll probably win a game against the Braves. They'll probably win at least 2 of their next 5. But let's say they win 1 of their next 5 and go 1-4 in their next 5 games. That would put them at 31-37. You're then 6 games under 500. You then have a stretch in your schedule where you have the Cardinals, who have not been good. They're better recently. The Astros. I mean, if you come out of the month of May and they're 8-9 games under 500, I think if you're the Mets, you have to do something. Like, you have to send a big strike to this locker room. Whether it's firing the coach, whether it's DFAing somebody, whether it's making a trade, whatever it is, benching somebody. Like, you've got to send some type of shockwave through the locker room. And I've been on the side of, for a while now, I've said this for a while now, that I've been on the, and I've admitted, like, if this was the Yankees and Aaron Boone, I would have wanted Aaron Boone gone a while ago. So maybe because I'm not a Met fan and I don't quite feel your pain as much as you guys do, because I'm sure if I was a Met fan, I'd probably be in the boat of fire Buck Showalter right now. I probably would. But just from an outsider, like taking more of a practical standpoint from it, for a while now, I've always said, at the end of the day, you just got to get better performances. Like, the bullpen is not Buck's fault. Buck has nobody to go to in the bullpen. Like, a lot of people are complaining last night that Buck Showalter went to the wrong guys. Who does he have to go to? That's Billy Epler and Steve Cohen's issue. Again, part of it's Edwin Diaz being, not being available, but Edwin Diaz isn't going to be able to save you every single night. Edwin Diaz is going to be able to go out there and pitch 4 innings and cover up every night for you. He's just not. And when your starters don't give you any good length in 2 games, when Scherzer and Verlander let up 9 runs and 18 hits in 2 games, your bullpen's set up to fail. You can't have your 2 aces pitch like that. They're not even aces anymore. They're just 2 big names that aren't any good. That's really what they are. But what put me over the edge last night for Buck Showalter, and why I think if you're Steve Cohen and Billy Kepler or somebody, or even just chat with Buck Showalter and say, hey, you got to light a fire on this team. You got to have more of a sense of urgency, was when he said he's very proud of the Mets' performance. What? Wait, hold on a second. You're very proud of the team's performance over the past couple days. How? Buck Showalter is known to being this old school manager that holds guys accountable, is kind of a no nonsense type of guy where he's going to put the best 9 guys out there. He's going to do everything in his power to win. That's what he's going to do. But saying that you're proud of your team's performance is just absolutely ridiculous. That is just uncalled for. After you blow 3 3-run leads in each game of the series, and last night was the cherry on top. You got Justin Verlander on the mound. You've got 14 hits in the game. You score 10 runs and you can't win. The bottom line is that this team is pathetic. They're pathetic. And I don't know where you go from here with the Mets. I really don't. Alonso got placed on the IL. Why are they calling up Luis Guillorme other than, Mauricio? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but they are. He's batting. I heard today, I don't know how true it is, so don't quote me on this, but I heard today he's only batting 188 in AAA. Why are they not calling up Mauricio? I don't know. Look, there's only so much you can do. There's been different timelines from this Mets season. It's funny because at first they were struggling, and a lot of people were saying, all right, you're going to get Verlander back. The lineup, hopefully, it's just early season struggles. It'll get in a groove. And then Verlander comes back. And now it's okay, they're still not good. Lineup stinks. Okay, let's call up the young guys. Beatty comes up. Alvarez comes up. Vientos comes up. All right. Now they're still not winning. And it's what's next? Sure, people can sit. And again, this is the issue. Now, this is the inconsistency of this Mets team. That's why the problems of this team are so deep. Because one night they can't hit, the next night they're putting up 10 runs, and then their pitching fails. They can't get on the same page. Is calling up Mauricio going to change anything? No, it's not. It's just not. Look, we've been down this road so many times in sports of calling guys, or baseball, calling guys up, saying, oh, this guy's going to... It never works. Most of the time, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Sure, there's a couple times where you call a guy up, he makes a big impact, really helps your team win. But the majority of the time, calling up 1 or 2 young guys doesn't always do much for a lineup. It just doesn't. Vientos really hasn't been good either. He's not hitting. He went 0 for 5 last night with 3 strikeouts. I know Beatty had a 2-hit night, and Alvarez is, been great. He had a 2-homer night, was a big reason why they put up 10 runs last night. And he's been great, 3 RBIs last night. But him and Nimmo combined for 7 ribbies, Nimmo with a grand slam. I mean, that's another thing, too. Like, last night you got production out of Alvarez, who's giving you production, but you've gotten production out of Alvarez, Nimmo. I don't so blame Buck for the bullpen issues because there's really nobody in that bullpen. It's just a bunch of AAA arms. No matter how good you are at managing, you got to go with what's in there. I do blame him a lot for the lineup, though, especially Vogelback. Why is he in the lineup so much? I don't know why. He's not good. Sure, he works his walks, but, so does Joey Gallo. Right? Aaron Hicks worked his walks with the Yankees, although he's hitting well now with the Orioles. But walk, it's not that hard to work a walk. It's just not. Guys work walks. Sure, he gets on base. He can't hit for power. He doesn't bring pop. He gets on base. It takes him 3 base knocks, which the Mets, it's tough for them to do to get him home. He's a liability so many places. So, again, you could sit here and say, oh, find a legit DH. You can sit here and say, oh, fire Buck Showalter. Are any of these things really going to do? I will tell you this, though. Buck Showalter saying what he said last night, you have every right to pull out the fire Buck Showalter card. You really do. Let's be honest here. At the end of the day, too, as much, whether you like it or not, it's a business, right? The ultimate, at the end of the day, the blame is going to go back to the head coach, the manager, whatever it is. Baseball, obviously the manager, head coach, and all the other sports. Whatever, your head coach, manager is going to go back to front office. That's what it's going to directly reflect. It's going to reflect the head coach and the manager. Because, number one, the front office is the one that brought these guys in. Right? Billy Epler, Steve Cohen, they were the one that did. They were the one that brought all these guys in. Right? Number two, the manager, in-game decisions, he makes the lineups, all that stuff. And again, this is part of it too. Does Buck really like the young guys? Does he want the young guys up, or does he want to play the veterans? And that's why I think it's internal, more internal issues. But at the end of the day, you're 30 and 33. The blame definitely goes on the players. There's definitely blame to go on the manager in the front office. But at some point, you've got to be on the hot seat. You spent all this money and you're 3 games under 500. At some point, maybe does the voice have to change? I'll tell you this. If the Mets miss the playoffs this year, Buck Showalter's not back. He's not. They're on a 6-game losing streak again. They're a streaky team. 8.5 back. And I don't like these people either saying they're treading water. You still hear people saying, oh, they're still treading water. How are the Mets treading water? Explain that to me. Treading water is when you're playing okay, you're all right, you're kind of just doing everything just good enough, and you're usually waiting for reinforcements. Like if the Yankees tread water until Aaron Judge comes back, that's what you expect, right? Play around 500 baseball, stay in the wild card race, at least stay competent in the division, stay competitive in the division. When Judge comes back, don't be like 12 games back of the Rays. Stay in third, 7 games, 8 games back. Stay at least, somewhat in range of the division. I know that's far out, but in a division, something like that, right? That's treading water. Treading water is not 4th place in a division. Team with the highest payroll, 3 games under 500, when there's no reinforcements coming. That's not treading water. That's failing. Pathetic showing by the New York Mets in Atlanta. All right, so now we move on to the Yankees here. We'll spend a little bit of time here. Obviously, mostly Mets today because, I don't really know what to say about them. Buck Showalter's comments last time, and I would blow. If we went, I don't know, it would be the exact example would be like Tampa. If we went into Tampa and got swept the way the Mets did, and we were in this situation, we just fell to 30 and 33 on the year, and if Aaron Boone went out and said, I'm proud of this group, I would blow a gasket. So I understand the frustration from Mets fans. I do. So many years now of being a sports fan of all my teams, all I want is a coach to hold guys accountable. New York hasn't had many coaches that hold guys accountable. Dable holds guys accountable. Gaze definitely doesn't. Saleh, I don't know. I think Saleh says a lot. I don't know if he always does. He's a lot of talk. Boone does not hold guys accountable. Boone is a manager's coach. He is a guy that he's going to be on your side the whole way. Look, there's one thing to holding a guy accountable, and obviously, you don't want to yell at the guy, but if your team's struggling, you gotta tell it like it is. You just do. So, anyway, Yankees split the doubleheader yesterday. All in all, it was a tough series. The way it started coming off the weekend against the Dodgers, hearing that Judge is going to hit the IL, you lose game 1 of that series 3-2. Wednesday's game obviously got postponed due to the poor weather in the tri-state area. It's fine now. It's actually, I think the weather is back down to like good quality or normal quality, whatever it is. It was in like the 400s there one day when it's usually in like the 50s. So it's definitely better from the Canada wildfires that obviously spread down into New York and stuff. Wednesday game got postponed yesterday. They played. It was still considered very unhealthy, but it looked a lot better. And again, you don't really know how accurate all those air quality things are. I guess they're just like weather apps where sometimes the weather app's correct, sometimes it's wrong. So you never really know. Either way, it cleared up. Yankee got the game in yesterday. Lost the first game 6-5. It was a tough loss because the offense did a lot of good things. I mean, they had the lead 5-4 going into the, the seventh and going into the later innings. After, 4 runs, in the first 3 innings given up by Sevy, they were able to kind of settle in, and they still really struggled. The bullpen came in and obviously didn't quite get the job done. Michael King showed that he was human, allowing the 2 runs, not to blow the game, but allowing the 2 runs to obviously lose the lead and let the White Sox take over. It was unfortunate because you got a lot of production in the lineup. You had Jake Bauers, who had 2 hits. He's been very good. You had Willie Calhoun, had a very good game. He hit a homer. He had a double in game 2, which scored a run on Glaber's homer. You had the Billy McKinney triple in his first game. Higgy had 2 hits. You had Oswaldo had a hit and a ribby. So you got a lot of production from some guys from some of the smaller name guys. Like Higgy gave you production. Jake Bauers continues to give production. Oswaldo, after getting called back up again, is giving you some production now. Calhoun's giving you production. So you got a lot of production from some of the under-the-radar guys. It wasn't the Torreses. It wasn't the Rizzos. It wasn't the Stantons. It wasn't the LeMahieus. It was the other guys. It was the smaller name guys in the lineup. It was the guys that got called up. It was those type of guys that gave you that production, which was unfortunate because when you get that production from those guys, you got to find a way to win those games because those are like extra bonuses. So, and I'll tell you what, some of those guys some of these under-radar guys have given you that. Now, the back-to-back games for Sevy has not been good. They talked a little bit about potentially tipping pitches against the Dodgers. And then he goes out there yesterday and still struggles. He threw 5 innings. He was able to he let up 4 runs in 3 innings. 4th and the 5th, he was clean. So he was able to at least give him a little bit of length. He ended up going 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. He allowed 3 homers. His ERA now is 5.75. He had such a solid 2 starts. His last 2 starts have been really ugly. To just tally it up, his last 2 starts, 9 innings, 15 hits, 11 runs, 6 homers, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, and an ERA of 11 in his last 2 starts after he had an ERA of 1.59 in his first 2 starts. So, look, it's not what you want. I mean, you're 4 starts into the season, and you've already given up I'll give you the number here. He's already given up 7 homers, and he's 4 starts into the year. Last year, he made a total of 19 starts, and he let up 14 homers. So he's like 7 homers away from tying that. So he's got to find it. He struggled his last 2 starts. I'm not going to sit here and panic. He's 4 starts in. If the next start's bad, then you start to have a concern. Then you start to wonder, okay, what's going on? Is he tipping pitches? Are guys just hitting him? What's happening? It's got to be something that's fixable because it wasn't like, I mean, it was 2 starts ago that he threw an absolute gem, right? So it's got to be something that's fixable. This isn't like a Justin Verlander situation where maybe he's just lost it. I don't necessarily think that he's hurt. I mean, there's some people out there that say, oh, is he not healthy? The fastball velo, he said he felt fine. He said he's, it's just, they're hitting, and he's not locating good enough. And he left a lot of fastballs. I think a lot of it's location. He's leaving a ton of fastballs right over the heart of the plate. You just can't do that. In the MLB, you leave a 96, 97 mile an hour fastball over the plate, especially against a team's heart of the order, they're going to crush baseballs. They're going to hit you. I mean, Eloy Jimenez has got power. He's going to hit you. Luis Roberts got power. They're going to hit you. Like, you leave fastballs over the plate for the 3 and 4 hitters, they're going to do damage. You just can't do that. He did that yesterday. So, tough loss there. You obviously got the win, though, in Game 2, 3-0. where for a while you were kind of thinking to yourself, man, this is going to be one of these nightcap doubleheaders where they don't score, they get shut out. They didn't get a hit until the fourth. The fourth innings was when they did a lot of their damage. The fourth and the fifth is where they did all their scoring. But I got to give a shout out to Randy Vasquez. He's now had, 2 spot starts this season. He came in yesterday as the 27th man for the doubleheader. Yankees won't need a 5th man in the rotation for a little while, really until the end of this month, because they have a lot of off days. Number one, they don't play it on a Monday at all this month. So they'll have Monday off every day this month. And then next week they have an off day Monday, and then they don't have off, and then they have off again until Thursday, because they'll have Red Sox here for 3, off Monday. They'll have 2 against the Mets, then off Thursday, and then they'll face the Red Sox again in Boston. So they have a couple days off here after this. They have 2 days off over the next 2 days off in between that 2-game Mets series. So they won't need a 5th starter for a little while. It is if there was a time for Nestor to be on the IL, it would be now, when you don't really need a 5th starter, or when you don't need necessarily to call somebody up when you only have a 4-man rotation. You could roll with that. Now would be the time. I think also now's the time, too, for Judge to miss time, too, where you're at a little bit of the softer point of your schedule, not in terms of competition, but in terms of days off, where you have a lot of days to get healthier, rest up, and those days aren't all games, so you're not missing as many games. The Yankees have 64 games played this year. That's up near the top of the league, so they'll have definitely some days off here coming up. But they went down 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. You go to the 4th. Calhoun starts it off with a double, which was originally ruled as out, as he was trying to leg out a single. Or lay out a double. It was originally ruled as out. The laces got him, doesn't count anymore. So he was in there with a double. Glaber then hits a homer. Bowers then hits a double later that inning. IKF ended up popping out to Yon Moncada at third to end the inning. But they get 2 runs on 3 hits that inning, make it a 2-0 game. Randy Vasquez was great, as I mentioned. 5 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikes, 3 strikeouts. 86 pitches, 54 strikes. ERA goes from 3.86 to 1.74. Look at his numbers overall. They've been very solid through the 2 starts that he's made this year. Exciting future guy for the Yankees. An exciting name to keep your eye out on. Obviously, he'll be up many more times this season when the Yankees need those spot starts. And then to start off the 5th, he had a triple in his first game, homer in his second game. McKinney with a solo shot to start off the 5th. Trevino also had a single in that inning. That didn't go anywhere, but they got a homer. McKinney producing at a high level already. A triple and a homer in his first 2 games with the Yankees. He gets on the board. Calhoun, Torres, all 3 of them produced in a big way. The Yankees had 6 hits last night. 4th inning, they had 3. 5th inning, they had 2. 1 in the 6th. Every other inning, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7, 8, 9, they didn't get a hit. So the 4th, 5th, and 6th, those 3 innings were where they made their money last night in terms of the offense. And they held the White Sox to 2 hits. Obviously, after a big game 1 for the White Sox, and especially in terms of power, they kept them inside the ballpark. White Sox only left 4 on base. They left 6 on base. They didn't really get much traffic on the bases. I mean, the first inning there was a little bit of traffic, but it was a 2-out single by Jimenez that moved Clint Frazier obviously to second, who walked. And then he got Moncada pop out. And then again, in the 6th, 2 outs. They singled in a hit by pitch. They brought in Marinaccio. They got out of it. So it was a lot of 2-out base runners. That's really what it was, which doesn't always hurt you. And then again in the 8th, 2 outs. You get a walk. They ended up getting Sheets to line out. So 2 outs, a couple 2-out singles, a couple 2-out walks, all that type of stuff. And then in the 9th, you had an error by Glaber, which didn't make sense. Jimenez coming out of the box, he was hurt. Easy double play, 6-4-3, easily. Glaber throws it over Rizzo's head, goes into the camera well. Jimenez is safe. He had to get pulled out of the game. Andrew Vaughn came in, and that was it. That was all that was on there. That was all the base runners there. So, good night for the Yankees in terms of their pitching. Really solid night. And a lot to like. So, if you're a Yankee fan, got to feel good about yesterday's win. You go into the series now coming up here against the Red Sox. 3 big games. You got Cole tonight against Whitlock. Game 2, you got Herman versus Tanner Houck. And in Game 3, which will be on Sunday Night Baseball, you got Clark Schmidt versus Brayan Bello starting for the Red Sox. So, and then you got the Subway Series coming up after that, which should be interesting if the Mets go into imagine if the Mets go into the Subway Series with a 9-game losing streak. I feel like that would put more pressure on the Yankees to not lose because the Mets would be that pathetic. But anyway, Yankees get the win. A lot more positive things to say about the Yankees than about the Mets as they get the job done last night in Game 2 of the doubleheader without Judge. All right, so now we move on here to sports update and get you ready for tonight. As I mentioned, Cole versus Whitlock tonight. Whitlock's 2-2 with a 5.61 ERA. Cole 7-0 with a 2.82 ERA coming off the big start against the Dodgers where he had to leave early due to cramps. So hopefully he can give us the full length tonight, but still with 6 strong innings. Mets Pirates, you got Tyler McGill 5-3 with a 4.40 ERA versus Rich Hill 5-5 with a 4.41 ERA in that game. You got Nuggets Heat game 4 tonight. And last night was Game 3 of Panthers Knights. Panthers get the win in overtime to make it a series. Game 4 will be tomorrow night. Nuggets look to put themselves in a position to win the series at home on Monday back in Denver in Game 5. So we'll see how all that plays out. So exciting weekend ahead. Mets Pirates for 3, Yankees Red Sox for 3, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup. Got a lot going on, a lot of excitement. Enjoy your weekend. I'll have a Jets podcast up this weekend. I'll obviously have the 2 baseball podcasts as well. So I have a lot of content on those on the other channels as well on Apple Podcasts. So definitely check that out. Appreciate all the support. Let's go Yankees. Let's crush the Red Sox this weekend. Get a sweep. That would be nice. Just win the series. A sweep would be a benefit, but would be the extra cherry on top. But get the series win. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And get ready for the Mets then coming up next week. So that will do it for the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.